Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo, this is the Mundane Matt channel, and you're watching rustl'd for the 21st of October, 2017. And just so you guys know, you can contact me the best through the social media links at the bottom of the screen. The Facebook page, however, is going to be changing over to a Facebook group. I'm currently working with the artist in order to get a new low bar made with the correct updated information. And the reason why I'm changing that over is quite frankly, Facebook is scummy. You know, in that regard, for fan pages, they restrict how many people who like the page get to see certain posts, unless you pay them a fair amount of money. You know, like every day I post something, and every day I get emails from Facebook telling me, oh, you have a very high performing post there. Why don't you spend some money so it goes up to some more people? And I'm like, why don't you just send it out to people who've liked the page? I mean, how's that for a thing? Right? Don't restrict it in a way of in trying to almost guilt me into giving you money or pressure me into giving you money, because I'm just not going to do it. Facebook groups, on the other hand, allow the audience to come in, post stories, engage on current events, discuss topics, and then be more of a community versus a one-sided affair. And so at this point, it is easiest to get a hold of me via social media than it is any other platform. And that's just because I check it more frequently, so you get more responses. So that is something to consider if you happen to like what I do here and you want to continue taking it off of the YouTube platform. So without further ado on that one, let's jump into the first story of the day, which to me is really interesting because it harkens back to a big story from back in April when Fox and Bill O'Reilly separated ways. And the news stories today finally got some details about that particular contract, or about that particular situation. And we learned that Bill O'Reilly had actually paid out $32 million. And then a month later, Fox had renewed his contract, even though they knew at the time that he was in the process of paying out a sexual harassment claim. They just didn't know how much. Saying here that former Fox News headliner Bill O'Reilly settled a new sexual harassment claim for a record $23 million in January, the New York Times reported. Longtime network analyst Lis Wiehl accused the primetime host of repeated harassment, non-consensual sexual relationship, and sending gay pornography and other sexually explicit material to her, sources briefed on the matter told the Times. 1 month after O'Reilly settled the claim, which was at least the sixth agreement that had been reached relating to O'Reilly's sexual misconduct, Fox News' parent company, 21st Century Fox, renewed the host contract with the network and agreed to a 4-year deal with a $25 million annual salary. Going on to say that the company said in a statement it was not aware of the amount O'Reilly's settlement with Wiehl and saw the dispute as a personal issue between the two. Now, that does tell you a lot of the culture around this type of situation at 20th Century Fox. I mean, clearly, if Bill O'Reilly had paid out 6 separate instances of settlements in terms of sexual harassment allegations, one of them, the last one, being $32 million, that's something to take into consideration when you look at these issues, considering his particular behavior. Now, I don't know if Bill O'Reilly did it or didn't do it. He's actually gone out there and said he never hurt anyone, that he never actually did anything. And the reason why he settled was because he didn't want to see his family's name run through the mud. Well, dude, okay, like, my personal belief on the situation is that if you are accused of a crime you didn't commit, and in this particular age of society, when it comes to sexual harassment claims or sexual assault claims, you should, I believe you have a civic duty to defend yourself. All right, to defend yourself, so then spurious accusations get shot down, and then true victims have the freedom to come forward, because spurious claims hurt way more than anything else. Look at this Me Too situation. All it's going to take right now for all of that to crumble is one provable false accusation to spread enough doubt amongst all the other accusations that aren't currently being named in the press, and then turn public attention around. And that's not what they want to do. So people have to be very careful what they make these accusations. And so still, when you come out, though, when an accusation is made and you either apologize for it or you settle out of court for an obscene amount of money because you didn't want to see your family's name run through the mud, that is quite telling. Now, granted, with O'Reilly, they signed him to 4 years at roughly earning $100 million. So if you were going to earn $100 million and you had to pay out $32 million, it sucks, but you're still in the black in this particular case. So this situation is just bad. Okay. O'Reilly has made a lot of errors, and he's probably a gigantic scumbag. That being said, when I first read the headline for this, I thought to myself, "Oh no, Fox they're gonna bring him back, right? I thought they were bringing him back on. That's the way some of the headlines around this were written. Fox renewed his contract. I'm like, oh god, no, the shitstorm from this is gonna be insane. No, they didn't do it. He's still not coming back. He's still on Glenn Beck's program every Friday, if that's where you want to find him, or his own podcast, I think is what O'Reilly's doing now. But either way, this just goes to show you how things are at 21st century Fox, where they know that there were 6 instances of sexual harassment claims, and there were 6 settlements, and that was totally okay in regards to his contract because they looked at it as being a personal matter. They also, in regards to the settlement with the analyst who did accuse him of sexual harassment and all the other things she accused him of, she had to sign basically an agreement to never mention it again and essentially withdraw her complaints and her accusations completely. So therefore, in the eyes of the law, Bill O'Reilly has done nothing wrong, and he a good boy. That's essentially what it boils down to. That is some scummy business practices there. Now, look, like I've said, there should be, if accusations are made, there should be proof, and the proof should go to the court. All right, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, social media is not 911. You need to go out, you need to go speak to the authorities, create a paper trail. But at the same time, if you are the accused and you come out and you immediately apologize or you settle without defending yourself, then you run the risk of, well, almost admitting guilt without admitting guilt. If you settle, if you apologize, then you're instantly admitting guilt to something, whether or not you think you did anything wrong. And that in and of itself is a big problem. Trying to tackle this issue is tough. There's a lot of nuance there. There's a lot of subtlety there that needs to be looked at. But at the same time, when approaching these situations, we must start thinking about the greater all scenario, the greater good of society, and how these witch hunts, when these things come out, can lead down some very dark paths. Like I said, and I just want to reiterate my point here at the end, all it's going to take for all of these claims to basically go bye-bye is if one is found to be of spurious nature. If one is fabricated and one is false and it's big enough, it will cast doubt on the rest. And that is not what anyone wants. Everyone wants to end sexual violence. Everyone wants to end sexual harassment and sexual abuse. The way you do that is when it happens, report it. When it happens, set the paper trail. Taking a settlement out of court is a way to make it go away, but in the end, there's no winner. There's no justice. There's no one is being stopped. And when it comes to media moguls like this making the amount of money that they make, $32 million out of $100 million contract, it isn't going to kill you. I just want to pause for a hot moment and remind everyone that if you want to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is through patreon.com/MundaneMatt. Here you can get access to a patron-only Discord and to get in on the patron-only Hangout stream once a month where we put together a whole bunch of crazy news stories and go through them live together. And it's a lot of fun. So check it out, and let's get back to the news. 3 months ago at Joshua Tree National Park, you had 20-year-old Rachel Nyguen and 22-year-old Joseph Orbeso go missing. There was a huge search and rescue trying to find them. Over 2,100 man-hours were spent trying to locate them, and it was nothing. And everyone thought that they would never see them again, that they would never be found. Well, it turns out that they did, but unfortunately, it's not good news. It says here that park hikers may have died in sympathetic murder/suicide. Going on to say that autopsies found both had gunshot wounds, and evidence at the scene led detectives to believe that Orbeso shot Nyguen and then himself. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department said in a statement on Friday. The stunning announcement came days after Orbeso's father, who was with the searchers who made the discovery, said the bodies were locked in an embrace. When I first read locked in an embrace, my initial thought was, oh my God, this guy led them out there, shot her, put her around him, and then shot himself. And that was going to be kind of how he wanted to go out. Be with the woman who rejected him. Because they used to date. That was the thing. They used to be a couple. And then they went out there for her birthday. And it just kind of felt like very much IDTV sort of situation. But then again, I watch a lot of that kind of stuff, and I might be susceptible to that line of thinking. But actually, it may not be that case at all. It might have been because of the elements. The Orange County Register reports that there was evidence that the pair had been battling the elements. Their bodies were under a tree with clothing covering their legs to protect them from the blazing sun. They appeared to have been rationing food and had no water. Nguyen's family said that investigators told them that based on the circumstances and positioning of the bodies, they believe the two died in a sympathetic murder-suicide. At this point, Rachel's family doesn't hold any ill will towards Joseph whatsoever. They really do think what he did was an act of love. They went out hiking for her birthday, got lost in 100-plus degree weathers, didn't have enough water, were rationing food, and they figured this was probably the best way out. It was either going to be a slow and painful death, or one they could just take themselves. Orbeso actually was a security guard, which is why they think he had a gun, and they found the gun just a few feet from the body. This is a tragic story of people who get lost while hiking and aren't properly prepared. We hear about these kind of stories all the time. I'm not blaming them for anything. This is a tragedy above anything else. I'm always worried when I go out camping or hiking if I'm going to get lost, and I try to remember if my Boy Scout training would ever kick in. Probably not, because it's been a long time. But at the end of the day, stories like this just remind us that if you're going to go out hiking anywhere, don't be ill-prepared. Always bring extra water, always have extra rations, and always let people know where you're going. Having a GPS device really does help out too. So this should serve as a tragic reminder that it's always best to be over-prepared than under-prepared. And finally today, guys, we have a story coming out of Australia where a man by the name of Daniel Duhovic is currently on trial with the Supreme Court of Melbourne because he's accused of shooting a father of five point blank in the face after being catfished by a woman he met online. Saying here that Daniel Duhovic, 34, has admitted murdering Bacchus Marsh father of five Paul Hogan, 48 years old, on May 24, 2016. The Supreme Court of Victoria was told on Friday that Duhovic believed Mr. Hogan was raping and beating one of his female friends. Duhovic and the woman, who has not been named for legal reason, exchanged 216 messages in the day leading up to the murder, as she repeatedly encouraging Duhovic to kill it, the court was told. Prosecutor Jeremy McWilliams told the Supreme Court of Victoria on Friday that the woman met both men online and had started a relationship with Mr. Hogan. She told Duhovic via SMS that Mr. Logan had beaten, repeatedly raped, and slapped her, and had also threatened to rape and kill Duhovic's young daughter, Mr. McWilliams said. So this woman, who cannot be named for legal reasons, probably because she's under the age of 18, that's what I'm thinking, or she's under legal age, started a relationship with both men online, with Mr. Hogan and Duhovic, and ended up telling Duhovic that Hogan was assaulting her and assaulting one of her friends, and threatening to hurt her baby and all this kind of stuff. And that's what got Duhovic to act, right? He was hit with 216 messages over the course of the day leading up to this, where this woman was telling him to kill it, dehumanizing Paul Hogan, which is not, Paul Hogan, not Crocodile Dundee. So I was very happy to read that. But dehumanized him to the point of calling him it and getting Duhovic to act. Well, this is what he did. Duhovic drove to Mr. Logan's house to pick her up, saw the victim arrive in his van. Duhovic walked straight to the driver's side of the van and, without speaking, shot Mr. Hogan in the face at point-blank range. A passenger in the car was also injured. So yeah, that's how crazy that is. Duhovic was sitting there outside of the house waiting to pick up this girl, of which he didn't know probably much about her at all, thinking she was in harm's way, saw Hogan come home, had already dehumanized him in his own mind, and walked up and just shot him point-blank. Now, when asked about why a man like Duhovic would do this, by the way, he's a practicing Buddhist. So why a Buddhist would all of a sudden pull out a gun and ice somebody in cold blood is crazy to even think about. You never hear about these, these killer Buddhist monks. That never really happens, right? Killer Buddhists aren't really a thing. However, that could be a new horror movie trend or something. But he also has a strict moral code, or a rigid moral code is what they said, and that he had a brain injury from when he was in an accident in his youth. So it does make sense that this unnamed woman, for legal reasons, was able to get in there and twist his mind and dehumanize Paul Hogan enough to get him to go and act when he saw him. Now, I don't know what her endgame was. They didn't talk about that. They haven't talked much about this woman and what she has done. And I hope that she gets the whatever sentence Duhovic gets, she gets double that, because she baited this dude into it. Now, granted, he's not absolved of any responsibility here. He was caught in a web of lies. He was catfished completely, and clearly there was an issue there that this woman had with Hogan. She'd met him online and started a relationship. Now, we don't know, again, to what context that relationship is. So it could have just been a friendly one. It could have been a romantic one or a sexual one. We don't know yet. But either way, she got mad enough at Paul Hogan to twist Duhovic into going and acting. She enabled him, I should say, to go and act. And so she should be held just as guilty as he is. Now, the court there is clearly going to throw the book at him. They don't want any kind of vigilante justice to go off, get off with the slap on the wrist. So they are going to make an example of him, and he's going to be sentenced at a future date. But this is just another one of those cases where you always have to be careful about how much you get in with people online. I talk to tons of people. People will message me all the time, and tell me their stories because of what I do. And that's so cool. I like talking to people, but there have been a couple over the years that have gotten like really intense on a few things, and I've had to back away. And this is one of those things where, certain triggers will get certain people, and when that happens, well, bad things tend to follow, which is exactly what we're seeing here with David Duhovic and his actions towards a father of 5. All right, guys, that wraps up today's episode of Rustled. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me and watching. If you have any comments, leave them. I want to know more. If you have any stories you want to submit, you can always do so on facebook.com/groups/Rustled or over on MundaneMatt.com/submit. Again, social media is the best way to contact me. I'll see you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.